everyone, welcome back to my channel. As you know, this is the first Armenian booktube and authortube, which follows both my journey as an English language writer in publishing from Armenia, as well as my reviews on books that are on Armenian topics written in the English language. In the last video, I reviewed 4 books, not full reviews, but partial reviews of 4 books that I actually used in writing my debut novel, which is the first in the trilogy called A Tale of Hayata. The first book is actually called Rise of the Phoenix, and it will follow a similar theme. Today, I want to talk about the first Armenian Genocide books, and I don't normally like talking about genocide books in general because we have way too many of it. It is a pet peeve of mine. We are saturated with genocide books, and we really need something more, something different. And there's very little out there written by Armenian authors, at least that I know of. If there are things that I don't know, please comment down below. Tell me of books that you have read by Armenian authors that are non-genocide related, even not non-Armenian related, but just by Armenian authors. That would be really cool to read about. I haven't come across too many, and I scour Sartabad bookstore and Abil bookstore all the time for new releases, and it's very rare that I find something that really captures my attention. But today I do want to talk about the first books that kind of got me into reading Armenian Genocide books before moving on to really wanting to read more about just Armenian topics and fiction books about Armenian topics. I've come across some really great ones that I will review later on, but I wanted to start with this, and it started in grade 5. We were given the first in the trilogy to read in grade 5 in the Armenian school in Toronto. I was born and raised in Toronto. I currently live in Armenia. I moved 6 years ago. I am a repatriate. I do work at Repet Armenia. So that's my little spiel about myself. But the book that really started all was The Hunger. So I believe this is the first book by Marsha Forchuk Skrypuch. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I did review this book on Goodreads a month ago, and she replied a few days ago saying that it was the first. So I should say that for being a debut novel, this is pretty awesome. And it follows 2 storylines. It is both about a 15-year-old Paula who has anorexia and is struggling with the whole being a teenager, 15 years old, struggling to really understand and accept her body. And she does go through a near-death experience which sends her into her grandmother's world. And her grandmother at 15 years old had much bigger problems than anorexia. She had much bigger problems than her weight. And she is thrown into the midst of the Armenian Genocide and has to really survive. And for a book to read in your teens, for tweens, really, and I was 10 years old when I read this, about a 15-year-old Paula. Probably better if I'd read this at 15, 14, 13 even. But yeah, as a 10-year-old, that really hit home. But it's really cool because she has a grade 10 project to do about family history, and as she learns more and more about it, she really starts to understand her grandmother's life. And later on, Marsha came up with 2 sequels to it. Daughter of War, I believe that one was the 3rd one, and Nobody's Child. Unfortunately, these are not the same size, and that is definitely a pet peeve for me. I really wish they were. I like my sequels to be nice and symmetrical. But these 3, I really do like them a lot. I've probably read them 3 times over the years. I'm not into the habit of rereading books unless I honestly like them. This was just, it's an easy read. At the same time, there's romance in there, and where one of them follows, each book follows the life of one sibling. And I really like that because it connects to one another while still having a very different feel to it. So I definitely recommend these. If you're going to start remember that this was her debut novel. There are going to be problems with it. It was written, let me double check that. This was written in 1999. So just remember that. It was written in Canada, and it does follow the lives of the Georgetown boys. So anybody who likes reading about the genocide but has no idea about the Georgetown boys are pretty much a humanitarian experiment by Canada to save 100 boys from the genocide. I have met a few descendants of the Georgetown boys, and it really helps put the puzzle together when you read this and you meet someone whose grandfather or grandmother, in this case, was part of this humanitarian experiment, and that pretty much Canada saved their lives. One thing that I really like about these books is at the end she normally has a resource list. Just a bunch of websites or books that you can check out. And I love how she lists Summer Without Dawn, and I do have Summer Without Dawn in on my bookshelf. So I just don't remember Summer Without Dawn, surprisingly. I've read so many books on the genocide that I don't remember the storylines of so many of them. I do remember the storylines of Peter Balakian. I have Sandcastle Girls, and I have definitely forgotten the storyline of that. It's one of those things when it's about the genocide, you know that it's about the genocide, and the rest of it kind of blurs in. I do remember that the Sandcastle Girls was more of a love story. And I know that Peter Balakian's Black Dog of Fate, for example, follows an American boy's pretty much identity crisis of am I American or Armenian, and to what extent do I belong to which culture. So coming back to the books at hand, the review at hand, I do recommend these, particularly if you are just getting into literature about the genocide. It is not painless, but more seamless, possibly, because it does include a story that one can relate to in terms of anorexia and body image problems. And even though it was written a decade ago, and there are games in there that you probably would have never heard of. I don't think I have heard of them. Or I heard of them, but I never played them. But yes, I do recommend it. I wish she would republish these, reprint these, and have them more symmetrical, pretty, all in the same style and font and everything, because everything is different, and that annoys me, as I mentioned. But they are, there's Dunburn and Fictionary and Whiteside here, so they are different publishers. In terms of my book, I am currently going with Amazon, followed by hopefully Ingram Spark for hardcover, unless I can get presentation here. I have tried, but the biggest problem for publishers in Armenia is the lack of English readers in Armenia, which means that sales, obviously. So I am hoping against hope that they change their minds and they love my rating. But while I wait for that, I will be releasing them on Amazon. So stay tuned for that. Cover I will reveal next time, hopefully. So like, subscribe, follow me, just keep tabs. I will be opening an Instagram account specifically for my work and reviews. So hopefully you will end up following that as well. See you.